Wall Street, as well as policy right now, is Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey. He's also on the Senate Budget and Finance Committees. And Senator, it's good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me.
What's your take on what's behind this? Not to call you a market timer or anything like that,
right,
but this market is reflecting some real worries out there about the possibility of growth slowing down. Your take?
Well, it's hard to know how much is that, how much is a little air coming out of the asset bubble that the Fed created. Let's remember the stated goal, the stated objective of monetary policy for years was to pump up the value of assets, create a wealth effect, and hope that that would encourage economic growth. Well, at some point when you start to take out some of that accommodation, and we're still at basically a zero real interest rate on the overnight rate, so there's still some ways to go, in my view, to normalize. It shouldn't be shocking that maybe we give up a little value in these assets that have gone on such an amazing run.
Yeah, we should put this in perspective. We're still looking at a gain of 40% since the election in 2016.
Exactly.
But you mentioned the Federal Reserve, and
Right,
because you did, I want to bring this up and get your take on this. The president said the Fed has gone loco, that the Fed is crazy, that the Fed is behind this sell-off. Do you agree with that?
So I think we should have begun to normalize interest rates long ago. You can make a good case for the emergency measures the Fed took back during the Great Recession. That was 10 years ago, and we still have abnormally low interest rates and a massive balance sheet. So no, I think the Fed has been prudent belatedly, but I commend Chairman Powell for sticking to a transparent path to normalization. And, you know, we're in an environment where certainly a great deal of the equity value has been expansion of earnings, and the economic growth story is very real. So hopefully this isn't severe, but no, I do think we need to normalize interest rates.
Senator, let me ask you, I know stocks go up and stocks go down, and there has been a narrative out there that things would slow down because you're talking about 4% growth, but you're also looking at higher input costs as tariffs cut into some profits. Is this going to impact the Republicans in the midterm elections? Yes, all of these things are normal. We see this all the time, up and down markets, volatility. And yet we're 3 weeks away from probably one of the most consequential midterm elections we've ever seen. Is this going to impact the Republicans' chances?
So I think that the net effect of all of the data is that it's overwhelmingly positive. The average Pennsylvanian who goes to the polls in a few weeks realizes that the economy is very strong, unemployment is at a record low, the growth prospects are tremendous, consumer confidence is excellent, small business enthusiasm is off the charts. And yeah, it'd be nice if the equity markets were hitting even new highs. But a modest, even a reasonable sell-off, I think people will put that in the context of a very strong economy, and the economy is a net positive for Republicans going into Election Day.
Are you expecting the Senate to keep the majority?
I wouldn't be surprised if we grow the majority in the Senate. I'm very optimistic about a number of the competitive Senate races. They always looked hopeful. In the last couple of weeks, the prospects have improved. So I'm very optimistic about holding the Senate.
And what about the House, Senator? Let me get your thoughts on that, because that's really where the worry from some of your colleagues are, that the House flips. Do you think that happens, or have things changed post that circus around Kavanaugh?
You know, I think the environment is rough in the House, and I think there is a significant risk that we lose control of the House, but it is not a certainty by any means. The environment in many House races has probably improved somewhat. So I think we're going to be up late on election night to find out how, where control of the House lies.
So it'll be a close call. But, of course, the president last night talked a lot about the backdrop as voters hit the polls. Here's what he said last night in Pennsylvania, in your neck of the woods. As you know, it included Pennsylvania coal, jobs in America, the Democratic agenda. Here's the president last night.
Under Republican leadership, America is booming. America is thriving, and America is winning like never before. And we are unleashing the power of Pennsylvania shale and clean, beautiful Pennsylvania coal. Beautiful, beautiful, clean coal. We are putting our miners back to work. We are putting our steel workers back to work. And I say this, and I mean this. The Democrats are the party of crime. That's what's happening. They are the party of crime. Republicans are the party of law, order, and justice. If you want security for your family, for yourself, if you want to continue our great economic boom like we've never seen before, but it's all very fragile. It can end. They want to end it. Then you must go out and vote Republican. We need those votes in D.C.
Obviously, an enlivened group. I think the president gets empowered when he goes to these rallies. Your reaction?
Yeah, look, I think that's exactly the right message. It's economic growth and security. And the fact is, it's just, you can't dispute that we said, if you give us a chance to govern, we will reform the tax code, we'll roll back regulation, and we'll see a real response. And that's exactly what's happened. Tremendous growth, tremendous employment gains. Now we're seeing upward pressure on wages. It's terrific. And if you ask voters the question, are you better off today than you were 2 years ago or 4 years ago? The answer is overwhelmingly yes. So I hope that that message will resonate at the ballot box.
Let me ask you about the scenario. Should the Republicans lose the majority in the House? You just painted a scenario where you're pretty confident about the Senate actually gaining seats in the Senate, but that the House is going to be a close call. It's going to be a tight race across the country. What happens to the agenda if, in fact, the Democrats win by a couple of seats and get the majority back? Does the agenda stop? Do we get nothing done in 2 years?
Well, the Senate, of course, unlike the House, is also in the personnel business. We'll be able to continue the extraordinary pace of confirming judges and confirming executive branch nominees. But the legislative agenda, which is what I think you're referring to, that's going to be much more challenging. Look, I mean, the Democrats totally and unanimously opposed the tax relief. They want to raise taxes. We're not interested in that, so it's going to be hard to find a way forward on taxes. The Democrats opposed all of our efforts to roll back regulations. They want more regulations, so it'll be difficult there. Look, we'll try to find areas where we can work together if that ends up being the political configuration we're dealing with. But it'll be a tough agenda, and let's face it, the Democrats are going to be under enormous pressure to do all kinds of investigations and impeachment proceedings and subpoenas of who knows who. So it could be a tough environment.
And in the face of all of this, you've got the Democrats sort of doing dog whistles about getting in the Republicans' faces. I mean, former Attorney General Eric Holder made a disturbing new rally cry for Democrats yesterday. He talked about kicking Republicans. Listen to this, sir.
Michelle says that, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them.
When they go low, we kick them, is what he said. I mean, we just witnessed Steve Scalise, your colleague in the House, almost dying. He almost died because he was shot. Here's what the president reacted to this. Listen to this.
When I hear Holder making a statement like he made today, I think it's a disgrace. And Hillary, I really understand. She just doesn't get it. She never did. She never will. And that's why she lost the election.
And we know, Senator, what Hillary Clinton said just the other day, no civility until the Democrats are in charge again. It's
really appalling. It's really appalling that prominent public officials, and includes some of my Democratic Senate colleagues, would seem to be actually inviting, if not inciting, actual violence. That is appalling. We can disagree, but we certainly should do it civilly, and I sure hope they will abandon this rhetoric.
It's pretty extraordinary. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me,
Senator
Maria.
Pat Toomey joining us there in